recent qualifier success, talked about it being a very attractive proposition too for team management and the business people in Newbridge. And then they say, as soon as the draw was made, they were in contact with Newbridge Garda Síochána. They were happy with the fixture going ahead, their only request being that throw-in was at 7 o'clock, given the influx of people in the area due to the Irish Derby, which is at the Curragh at 5:15. They say then, having received the backing of the Gardaí, they sent an email to the CCCC advising them that they would have no difficulty in hosting the fixture in Newbridge and that an all-ticket affair would be the plan, and they were already putting plans in place to do so. They say as well that the CCCC then came back and asked them to provide an alternative venue. That was an invitation that we declined, they say, because Kildare are entitled to the home venue. They also say as well that they had no issue whatsoever in adhering to the criteria for St Conleth's Park as previously agreed with the National Facilities and Health and Safety Committee, which is an important point here because, as you'll hear in a moment, the GAA are talking about health and safety. So Kildare are saying they had no issue with adhering to the criteria for St Conleth's Park as agreed previously with the National Facilities Health and Safety Committee. They say the management committee of Kildare GAA has been in constant contact with Cian O'Neill, the manager. They're all on the same page, they say. When the notification arrived for the game that it was going to Croke Park, we informed the CCCC that we would not be fulfilling that fixture because it was a home draw. The decision does not make sense to us, they say, as we have already hosted attractive Division 1 fixtures this year. They also say they're worried about what it would mean in the Super 8s, whereby Kildare are entitled to a home game, and would they even get that if this is how they're being treated when they get a home draw in the qualifiers. They stress again, we're not attempting to do anything that contravenes health and safety regulations. We can cater for the fixture at St Conleth's Park. It will not cause undue congestion in Newbridge. And in their final paragraph again, they say, we are making it clear we will not play this game in Croke Park. St Conleth's Park is perfectly capable of hosting the tie on an all-ticket basis. Newbridge is perfectly capable of dealing with the number of supporters that will attend. And the GAA responded. The Irish Times spoke to Fergal McGill, the GAA's Director of Games Administration. Fergal McGill says, the game has been fixed for 7 in Croke Park. That is not something that is going to change under any circumstances. He talks also about health and safety has to come first. It's that simple. Says the last thing we wanted to do was take this out of Newbridge, but we simply had no choice, is the GAA line. They had no choice. There is no room for manoeuvre when it comes to health and safety. And then he signs off by saying, if Kildare don't show up in Croke Park on Saturday at 7, the game will be awarded to Mayo. So that is where we are. Cian O'Neill, the Kildare manager, was on the 6-1 News this evening.
Well, I'd like to be explicitly clear here, and this is coming from myself as the manager of the team, my management team of Ronan Sweeney and Enda Murphy, all the backroom, but most importantly from the players themselves, that we were drawn, fairly and squarely. We were pulled out first against another Division 1 team who, mind you, we played in the league this year in St Conleth's Park, ironically. We were drawn first out of the bowl. The rules clearly state that the first team drawn out has a home venue, unless they're playing a Division 3 or 4 team, have home venue. And that's exactly where we're going to be on Saturday night. We'll be in St Conleth's Park. We're going to be togged out. We're going to be ready to go. That's our home venue. We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
And very briefly, Cian, would you make it a personal appeal to Stephen Rochford, the Mayo manager, tonight?
I don't think I need to. And I don't want this to be about Mayo. I feel sorry for Mayo in this whole debacle as well, because obviously I need to focus on our setup, our group of players. I know this isn't ideal for Mayo either. It's not ideal for Stephen. Stephen does a great job with Mayo. I personally feel that Mayo don't mind where they play, whether it's in Croke Park, whether it's in St Conleth's Park. I would imagine their issue at the moment is there's still a little bit of inconsistency about where the match is going to be held. So I don't want it to be about Mayo, and I'm sure they don't want it to be about them either. The draw is the draw. The fixture was the fixture. We were drawn out first. Let's be fair about this, and let's not bring other issues that have nothing got to do with the game of football, and more importantly, the lifeblood of the association, the players. Let's not take that away from them. Stick to the rules that you created. Stick to the draw that was made in the presence of the president of the GAA, John Horan, this morning. Stick to those rules and let's go and play football. Too much talk about this. Let's just get on the pitch on Saturday in St Conleth's Park in Newbridge at 7 o'clock.
John Fogarty from the Irish Examiner is on the line. John, this thing has blown up quite spectacularly in the last few hours.
It has, Joe, and as you say, it surprised a lot of people. when the draw was made this morning, a lot of people would have assumed it was St. Conleth's Park. It was the most attractive draw, let's be honest about it. Cavan Tyrone will be the second most attractive draw, and it's no surprise that Sky Sports have shown the two of them, and it suits them. That was my first reaction. It suits Sky Sports to show these two games now back to back. They avoid the debacle, as seems to be the word of the day, but the debacle of Meath and Tyrone, that game spilling over into their Kilkenny Wexford coverage. The fact that the two games were at the one venue really suited them like that, because obviously they wouldn't start the coverage of the Kildare game until the first game was taking place. But this is more than about that. This is Kildare are taking a stance, I think, not just for them, but for a lot of people, and I think there's a groundswell of support for them, Joe, there at the moment.
Yeah, well, certainly judging by the comments coming into us, it's universally supportive of Kildare. And Cian O'Neill said there, let's be fair about this. And that is the sense I think most people have. Look, we were drawn out of the hat with home advantage. We've played 2 games on the road. We've hosted Division 1 league games here at St. Conleth's Park. Let's just be fair about this. Don't try and pull the rug from under us, is their sense. The GAA have cited health and safety grounds. Do we know what those health and safety grounds are? And I appreciate I'm asking you here as opposed to the GAA explaining these, but do we know what they are?
Not necessarily. Obviously, we know about the Slattery report, which was issued a few years ago, which would have reduced a lot of stadia out there, Joe, and Newbridge would have been one of them. And I think Kildare are very cognizant of the fact that St. Conleth's Park is in need of a major upgrade, but at the same time, they have a capacity that they believe was sufficient enough for this game to be staged. Obviously, Mayo are a huge attraction, but
what is the capacity, John? 6,200, I saw.
We're looking. I think it's between 9,000 and 10,000.
Oh, 9,000 and 10,000. Okay.
Yeah. But the issue here, Joe, is like we're talking about the strength of an away team and their support and their following having an impact on home advantage for a team which was drawn out, like as the guys have mentioned, as it was mentioned in the statement there, GA president himself, John Horn, drew out Kildare first, and as Cian O'Neill rightly points out, if the rules are to be followed, then the game should be played there. Like health and safety, absolutely, it has to be followed. But there is a money element here. There's no doubt that.
Yeah, because Kildare absolutely insist in their statement that they meet the agreed criteria for health and safety, as per league games held there. Mayo even played there across the league. I appreciate we're talking about a bigger attendance here. So Kildare are saying health and safety is not the issue. And the GAA have been suitably vague on health and safety. It's a beautiful catch-all term in these circumstances. So let's move on to some other potentials. Where does Sky Sports come into this, I wonder?
Well, Sky Sports, again, as I said, Joe, it was my first reaction that this would suit them, because they've had to apologise twice in the last couple of weeks for difficulties with coverage of GAA. One of them, as I mentioned earlier, was the fact that it was 24 minutes into the Kilkenny Wexford game that they actually broadcasted the game. The points that Sky Sports were making there was, listen, they had to continue with the Meath Tyrone game, but at the same time they initially had Dublin Galway, which would have finished a full time. It was their own decision to go with the Meath Tyrone game, and they would have been well aware that game could have spilled into additional time, and unfortunately it did for them and for subscribers. This wouldn't have been an issue, obviously. If the two games are to go ahead this weekend, it wouldn't be an issue, because they would stick with the Cavan Tyrone game until it's finished, and then they would start with the second game. So it does suit Sky Sports in that way. I just feel in many ways, Joe, as Fergal McGill, who I would regard as a very decent operator and a very honest one too, but I do think money is a factor here. Like 35,000 could have come into Croke Park there on Saturday, which is not to be sniffed at. And obviously, I think ticket prices were reflecting the fact that it was a double header too. Yeah.
Okay. So the language from both sides is fairly unequivocal, and who backs down now is going to be the big question. The GAA will have to deal with public opinion. It won't be the first time they've flown in the face of that. Kildare, it seems, will have to very seriously contemplate their expulsion from the championship. The notion that they would be at St. Conleth's Park and out of the championship on Saturday with Mayo at Croke Park is a bizarre one, but if the GAA don't back down, then they're going to have to seriously think about what to do.
Mm-hmm. There's no one backing down as far as I can see, Joe. There's just too much support out there for Kildare at the moment. And let's be honest, this is going this is going to have ramifications in many ways. We're already talking about the Super 8s and the fact that Dublin, through no fault of their own, have 2 games in Croke Park. One of the games is supposed to be neutral. We're still talking about Croke Park as a neutral venue for Dublin years on now, which is silly when you think about it. But this is definitely going to this is the next port of call. A lot of people, Tony Brown in the Irish Examiner, would have spoken recently about why Waterford didn't stand up when they were told that Walsh Park wasn't sufficient enough to stage Munster Championship games. Well, you know what? Kildare have stood up for themselves here, and they're going to get a lot of kudos for it. Yeah.
Have we any precedents here to work off?
Not necessarily. Like, obviously Kildare have played a home game before they played a league game, if you remember. They played it as a curtain raiser to Dublin a few years ago. I think it was in Kieran McGeaney or Jason Ryan's time. Newbridge has been, Kildare have had alternative venues in the past, but they were adamant, especially after having 2 games away from home. Like, they were drawn out first against Longford, I believe, in the second round draw, and obviously because Longford are a Division 3 team, Longford got the home venue for that game. So they would feel, it's about time that they got the thumbs up. And even this evening, I'm seeing that Clare are making the argument, or Colin Collins, the manager, is making the argument, why are Armagh getting a home advantage against them when they're going to be in Division 2 alongside Clare next year? So that might be a rule that has to be looked at. But no, in terms of precedent, there's not much out there, Joe, as much as Newbridge has, as you know yourself as a Kildare man. It has been, the source of much gripes over the years. Listen, there's a great facility there in Hawkfield and what have you, but the one place that needs a bit of love and care at the moment is St. Conleth's Park. At the same time, though, you got to take Kildare at their face value. If they feel that it was capable of hosting this game, then you got to do it. You got to take it at that, because let's look at it. I know it's not FA Cup or anything like that, Joe, but let's look at parallels like a third round, or Plymouth Argyle against Manchester United or whatever. Plymouth are going to host that game. There's no denying it. And why shouldn't Kildare get the opportunity to host this game, irrespective of the demand outstripping the supply in terms of attendance? Yeah,
we'll read more about it in the Irish Examiner, I'm sure, tomorrow. John, thanks very much.
No problem.
John Fogarty there with his initial thoughts. We have Kildare's record scorer in the championship on the line, Johnny Doyle. Good evening. Oh, we don't. Sorry, apologies. I thought we had Johnny on the line. I'll give you an update on the latest in the World Cup just while we get Johnny Doyle on the line. So it is in Group B. Spain won, Morocco won, and the half-time whistle has just gone. Spain conceded early, 14 minutes gone, and then equalised 5 minutes later, courtesy of Isco. So 1-1 there. And Portugal, at half-time as well, are 1-0 up against Iran. So Portugal in the driving seat to finish top of Group B. Quaresma with the goal for Portugal on 45 minutes there. I'll take a very short break, and then we will get Johnny Doyle for you and get the mood in Kildare, which I suspect you can imagine.
Off the ball on News Talk. Everyone's doing it.
Doing what?
Using Flexify, Ireland's latest way to pay.
Oh!
Yeah, it's so easy. You just apply for Flexify online and get approved in minutes to shop for bikes, appliances, furniture, interiors, outdoors, home security, DIY, anything really. Just visit flexify.com.
Wow, sounds great.
T's and C's apply. Subject to credit assessment and approval. See flexify.com.
Oh, what a shot! The Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open takes place this July. From the 4th to the 8th, Ballyliffin will play host to this incredible occasion. While Rory McIlroy and John Ram set the fairways alight, country music singing sensation Nathan Carter will headline our world-class music and entertainment programme. The perfect day out for the whole family. Tickets on sale now. Search The Irish Open.
Chill Insurance do travel cover. Get away. Oh, see what I did there? Visit chill.ie for a great quote. Chill Insurance Limited, trading as Chill Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
News Talk's Happily Hired, brought to you by Jobbio. Jobio is the place where millions of talented people find their dream job. Here are some of the thousands of companies hiring this week. Calling all engineers. MongoDB are looking for a senior engineer, OPS manager, EMEA. MD7 need a fluent German speaker for an inside sales role. And finally, get sorted with Air Sorted. The company are on the lookout for a client success executive. To find a job you love or make your next dream hire, visit newstalk.com/jobs.
You can get a percentage so small. Low.
Flat fee rates, flexi fee rates.
20. And you can save more with that.
While everyone else talks in percentages and jargon, the bottom line is owning a new Audi is now more affordable than you think, thanks to our Inspiration 182 sales event. So contact your local Audi dealer today while stocks last. Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Not that long ago, people were stealing TV shows, like going onto websites, downloading them.
It's so funny I don't do it anymore, because I would have done it. And I know that sounds terrible, but if you're looking for content that you can't find, you're going to watch an illegal stream of it. But I think if you're making that content available to people, you're taking out that loop, and you're suddenly like, oh yeah, why? I just paid 2 or 3 quid for it, and I feel better about it.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly on News Talk. Download the podcast now.
The Irish Classic and Vintage Motor Show is back at Terenure College on Sunday, July 1st, with over 1,400 classic cars on display from the early 1900s to the latest supercars. Check out the new Jaguar F-Type, Audi R8 Spider and the Tesla electric cars. Enjoy a great family day out with food courts, kids activities, music from a live jazz band and more. Supporting Emma Heavy's fight against cancer at helpemmabeaititfund.ie. The Irish Classic and Vintage Motor Show, Sunday, July 1st from 11 to 6. Tickets from irishjagclub.ie or purchase at gate.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
So we're just getting Johnny up on the line. Give us 1 second. But the story develops. The GPA have got involved, which is interesting. Statement here. GPA calls on GAA to host round 3 qualifier in Connaughts Park, Newbridge. It reads, the GPA is today calling on the GAA to immediately reinstate the Kildare versus Mayo round 3 qualifier game to the original fixture for Saturday evening, 7 o'clock in St Connaughts Park. The GPA say, and this is very interesting, it is unclear why the GAA is not sticking to its original decision. The GAA decision to move the game from its original venue in St Connaughts Park to Croke Park is unacceptable. Not alone is it unfair to the Kildare team, but it's also unfair on the Mayo football panel, who are now expected to make alternative travel arrangements, having understood that the game was fixed for Newbridge. Changing the rules with regard to the match at venues at the 11th hour without any regard to the players affected is not fair or reasonable. So GPA coming out very strongly there behind Kildare, and I think we all note when the GPA come out against the GAA these days. Johnny Doyle is with us now. You're there, Johnny?
I am, Joe. How are you?
Very well. So this thing is blown up in a big way.
Blown up in a big way, yeah. And I suppose there was probably a small bit of smoke earlier on, even though it was all speculation on here locally in Kildare that Kildare were going to take this stance before the statement was released, and I suppose that's come to pass now, and it could be interesting to see what way it plays out.
Johnny, you're a keen follower of Kildare, obviously. I presume you were at quite a few of the league games.
I was, yeah.
What kind of attendance might we have had? What kind of shape is St Connaughts Park in to get 9,000-10,000 in the door?
Well, look, I suppose I played in Connaughts Park when it was packed to the rafters. I mean, the day Dermot Early passed away, the day he was buried, we played at Antrim in it, and you wouldn't get another soul into the place.
I was there. Jammed. I was there that day, and you couldn't get it. I wasn't in the stand. I was in the terrace across from the main stand, and it was packed. Now it was as packed as it could be, and I didn't. Being in the stand, there was no health and safety issue that I could see. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, no, and I don't. I can't see what it is, and from obviously there's a certain capacity within Croke Park, and I'm led to believe that's 9,000 or 10,000. I'm not sure of the official line in it, and I suppose as you rightly point out, and we were involved actually in 01 against Donegal in a qualifier game. A Saturday evening, and ironically it was the same day as the derby, and again it was a packed capacity, and some that have more knowledgeable than me, going back a lot longer, would have said it was the biggest crowd ever they'd seen in St. Connor's Park. So look, it's hard to see. It's hard to see what the huge issue is now.
And has Conlitz Park gone rapidly downhill in some way since that Antrim game that we may not be aware of?
Yeah, well, I would say the opposite. There's been numerous works done. Obviously, we would have got a criticism of the size of the dressing rooms, and they've been remodified to 2 big dressing rooms now rather than 4 small ones, and they've moved dressing rooms under the stand. I think they've done upgrades on toilet facilities, even though they would have get criticised locally for maybe the state of the toilets. But I think from that game, and that was 2010, I think the improvements have if nothing, have got better. But again, I'm sure health and safety have done their work in those 8 years, and I suppose it's hard to know what the big issue is now.
We've played Cian O'Neill on the 6-1 news. He wasn't backing down. He used the phrase, let's be fair about this. And he said we had the GAA president there with the draw being made, and we came out of the draw first, and that's that. And so we've seen the Kildare statement, which I read out earlier. The GAA response, Fergal McGill very simply said, if Kildare don't show up in Croke Park on Saturday at 7 o'clock, the game will be awarded to Mayo. And he said that is not going to change under any circumstances. What's your reaction to that?
Well, look, I suppose, in fairness to Croke Park, they've made their stance, and I'm sure any reasons they've come up with, they feel justified by it. And I suppose the opposite end, Kildare would be in the same boat. And as it stands now, I suppose it's the 2 ends of a magnet. They're not going to come together, and it looks like at this stage they'll be throwing the ball in, and only one team standing on the pitch, unless the 2 of them can sit down and come to an agreement. But the statement from both Croke Park and Kildare GAA, and as you said, you've heard Cian O'Neill's stance on it from a management point of view, we're at stalemate, and
there's not much time either. Like, fans need to organise what ground they're going to play. This isn't like we can sort this out on Friday. Like, this thing maybe has a 24-hour window. Will Cian O'Neill back down? Like, could Kildare actually sacrifice their 2018 championship here?
Well, no, and Cian is a very approachable guy, but he seems very adamant about what he's staying here. And looking at him, I saw the clip on the 6-1 news. He doesn't look to me like a guy that's going to back down, and that's if there was any doubt in my mind anyway, Joe, that he would have said nothing.
Yes,
but to come out on live television, to come that strong, it's hard to see him backing down.
Because he looked very calm on the 6-1. He didn't look emotional. He didn't look like somebody who was about to come off air and then in an hour's time calm down and go, oh, maybe actually I overreacted. Like, it was a very, he's suit and tie on, shirt on. It was a very composed, matter-of-fact performance, I would have said.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's a very astute guy, and he was very clear in his message, as he tends to be. And I'm sure you've interviewed him in the past. He doesn't mix his words. He's an articulate type of guy, and again, I didn't see a guy that was hadn't thought this out or wasn't prepared to go the full 9 yards.
All right. Well, I mean,
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting 24 hours, and I suppose just locally, Joe, and I've talked to a few people locally and County Board, I suppose, in the past, no different in Kildare, would have got sometimes the PR side of it wouldn't be the nicest job to be in, but local support on the ground would tend to be swaying on fair play to you, Kildare County Board, don't back down. And it's hard to keep the general public happy, not only in Kildare, especially from a County Board point of view, because if they say black, normally it's white from Joe Public. So they are getting a lot of support locally, it seems, and even before the statement came out, and I spoke to one or two guys that was coming up the street in Newbridge, and they said to me, well, look, if it's in Newbridge, we try to get our tickets. If it's in Croke Park, we won't be going, and it's simple as that. So, look, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Yeah,
this is very tricky for the GAA as well. Like, it will go down as scandalous if Kildare are kicked out of the championship. Yeah, and I don't think the GAA want that, in fairness to them. And I suppose it opens the question then, like, if it's a capacity issue, in fairness to
there's no better travelling support than Mayo. I was lucky enough to be in New York when they played over there the last one. I couldn't believe the crowds that came to New York to look at them against New York. So they're very passionate supporters, and you know, it'd be terrible to see if some of them were turned away or couldn't get tickets. But I suppose the other question is, you know, if it's a capacity thing. And with the Super 8s, you know, if for argument's sake, if Dublin were drawn against Tyrone up in Healy Park, you know, with a capacity of whatever it is, 28, 29, whatever the capacity, I'm not sure. Dublin would probably sell it out 3 times. What about those supporters or Kerry supporters that might go out, you know, or whatever the case may be? So it does open a lot of, I suppose, a lot of questions for what's going to happen down the line.
I mean, for Cian O'Neill and Kildare, it's a very straightforward issue. It's just one of fairness. This is the rule. This is what's happened. There's absolutely no good reason to break the rule in their eyes. And people are wondering, is it to do with Sky Sports? Is it just to do with simple money? And like the Super 8s is going to bring in plenty of money. Like looking at all the tweets and texts, generally most issues people disagree on or divide on. I literally haven't seen one text in the last 45 minutes saying the GAA are dead right here.
Yeah, that seems to be. And look, you also know there's always anti-establishment, no matter what they say. But certainly, I think in this issue, and in this particular, like, I mean, Kildare have broken no rules, and you know, you would feel very hard done by. And you know, everyone has an opinion, and you know, some people say, well, Cian O'Neill shouldn't get involved, and you know, the players should play anyway. And I know a lot of them players have played with them, and you know, if we were second out of the bowl, we'd have to go to Castlebar, and which we had to do 2 years ago. And try face Mayo down there or wherever it is, and no different than anyone else. We just want to. I think Kildare GAA just want to play by the rules set by the association.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see what happens over the next 24 hours. At the moment, it's hard to see. So, yeah, it could be interesting times ahead. Thanks a million, Johnny. Appreciate you taking the call late notice.
Okay, no problem. Thanks a lot.
That's Johnny Doyle there, Kildare's all-time top scorer, giving his take on things. Everybody is slightly surprised, I think, at the way this whole situation has escalated. I dare say the lads in OTB GAA will be talking about it all morning, and well, it could change rapidly even before the evening. If there's any more breaking news on it, we'll bring it to you. If there's any more statements from anybody, the latest one is the GPA calling on the GAA to reverse the decision and move the game back to Newbridge. We're going to park that for the time being. Lots coming up on the football show. Spain are 1-1 in their game. Portugal are 1-0 up is how we stand with the second half's about to start. We'll have Kevin Kilban around 8:45 or so start the football show early. We'll have Tim Vickery talking Argentina. They play tomorrow. We'll have Martin Lipton on England. And up next, get your rugby tweets, texts and Facebook comments into us, and you could be named our Heineken Star Comment of the Week and win some Heineken goodies and a signed rugby ball. We announce our winner every Friday. We are talking rugby, a first series win against Australia in Australia since 1979 for Ireland. We've got Matt Williams and Eddie O'Sullivan on the way.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
The Irish Classic and Vintage Motor Show is back at Terenure College on Sunday, July 1st, with over 1,400 classic cars on display from the early 1900s to the latest supercars. Check out the new Jaguar F-Type, Audi R8 Spider and the Tesla electric cars. Enjoy a great family day out with food courts, kids activities, music from a live jazz band and more. Supporting Emma Heavey